So if we're looking into the Battletech lore, is there a more iconic mech than the Crusader? The Crusader's up there with the Battlemaster, the Warhammer, the Locust, the Archer. I mean, these are icons of the game, icons of the inner sphere. But how does that tactically translate to the tabletop? What's this checklist? What is the checklist that we can build, points to be aware of a mech warrior to get the most out of this machine on the tabletop? And in turning our attention to the Crusader, I believe the Crusader, and my experience with it is a very tricky mech to play. Because on the one hand, it has massive amounts of redundancy. Redundancy in Battletech is this idea of like, 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is some. If I fire 1 medium laser at you, whatever the odds are to hit, it's 1 shot. If I have 2, if I have 3, if I have 4 of medium lasers of the same weapon systems, now as I shoot them, even if it's a higher chance to hit, I have more chances to hit. So redundancy is having 2 of the same weapon to be able to utilize at a single target, or weapons with the same range profile. You know, maybe you have a PPC and a long-range missile pack. Different weapons, but at least the range is somewhat synced with how it's going to operate. The Crusader is paired beautifully. Stock loadout, of course. You've got the long-range missile 15 launchers. You got 2 short-range 6 missile launchers, 2 medium lasers, 2 machine guns. So at every single range bracket, you have this perfect duality. But you're limited by 10 heat sinks. 10 heat sinks. You're looking at this firepower on a heavy mech. 10 heat sinks. And some of these weapons are heat intensive. So you need massive fire discipline. And you need to master the ability to pull down your opponent's modifiers and to strike at range. Pulling down the modifiers would be like, obviously, if I'm at long range, I'm going to take that shot. But if my opponent is closing where they're now starting to get into range with me, I don't want to gas out on heat and start taking negative modifiers and making shutdown rolls or any of that bad stuff. What I want to do would be, okay, if I'm going to shoot you with these 6-packs, the short-range missiles, I want to make sure, based on the terrain, based on movement, can I force you to turn a couple of times to get to me or to get to the objective? So it's cutting down your movement modifiers. Can I get you out of cover? Can I get you at medium or short range? That's what I mean by bringing down the modifiers that would increase your base attack skill. So the Crusader has the punch. It has a lot of great punch. Long range, medium range, short range. Very effective. But it doesn't have the heat sinks to operate it. So let's look at a couple of different roles to utilize it. This is one of those mechs that if you're really not sure what to take for the mission or various configurations, you could do a lot worse. I put it up there with the catapult, with the Wolverine. It's just solid on how it operates. So we have kind of a mini longbow / mini archer. You've got 2 15-packs. 15-pack is the minimum where I want to go with long-range missiles. I mean, look, I always want to go a 20. I always want to go autocannon 20s, but you can't always get that in every mech. 15 means on the spread, if you roll average, it's got bite. If you roll legendary, it's got a lot of bite. Compare that to a 5 or a 10-pack, where on the spread, if you roll lower, yeah, it's damage, but it's nothing that's really crazy or out there. You got 2 15-packs working in tandem, shooting out. So you have that long-range capability, which means it can soften up targets on the way in. It can harass stuff. It's got something to do for long range. It could work alone or as part of a long-range indirect fire team. I mean, you could have the mech working with some long-range missile carriers. You could have it working with other long-range mechs. Or just, if you happen to have a spotter, it's an option. And it's got redundancy. It's got the 2 15-packs. So now we close. We get closer. You got 2 medium lasers. Medium laser, inner sphere, one of the best weapons in the game. And we pushed up some of the various weapon profiles to my Battletech channel here under the Battletech playlist. You know, looking at PPCs, large lasers, missiles. The medium laser, heat, range, damage, 5. Medium, perfect. You've got 2 of those. You've got redundancy. So now as you close with your opponent, you can start switching down the long-range missiles and now fire those medium lasers. Then you've got the 6-pack. Now, the 6-pack is interesting because it's located in the legs. As pointed out, water could be a problem. But also, you don't have the ability to necessarily kick if you fire. And we're going to get to the kind of the close range tonnage with this mech in a moment. But those shots, those are 6-packs. This is the same. You've got short range missile 2, 4, 6. You've got 2 6-packs. That with the lasers, that's got some bite. I mean, you've got a lot of damage that you could potentially push out. And then finally, the 2 machine guns for infantry or just absolute point blank range. You're ready to go. So whatever range you find yourself, and it's got good speed, it's got good armor, you're covered. But now going back to the heat sinks and going back to the limitations, one of the things that I like to do, or I like to keep in mind for the heavier tonnage, punching at a heavy mech. I mean, you could do it at mediums, you could do it at light, but heavy and assault mechs, 1 in 6 chance of hitting the head and either knocking that head clean off based on the tonnage, going to internals, possibly causing crit, but at the very least, forcing a pilot consciousness check. And even if it's the first hit, anytime you roll in Battletech, crazy stuff can happen. The Crusader has the bulk of its weapons, all of its weapons, except for the missiles, in the arms. So I now have to make a choice. If I'm point blank, do I punch, where other mechs with their weapons, if they're in the torso, or, like the Hunchback, autocannon 20, okay, I have the lasers in the arms, but I can punch, AC 20. Battlemaster could be lasers, machine guns, missiles, punch. The Crusader isn't really geared up for a maximum effective close combat type mech. It wants to stay at the long, medium, and short ranges, not get to that close range. At least that's my experience. Although, certainly in a city fight type scenario, you could deal that damage at short range. You could walk up. You could be punching. You could be kicking. The kicking also with the missiles. You need to be kind of aware of it and how it plays. So iconic, yes, but the big limit for me is the heat sinks. The heat sinks. You need that discipline. What you can't do with this mech, well, I won't say can't do it. I mean, I should say shouldn't do it. There have been games where I was outnumbered. I was outnumbered and my stalker was really chewed up, really just sparking, a mess, no armor, internals, just any little next hit is going to ignite ammo. And I'm surrounded. I'll alpha strike. I'll fire everything and just deal with that heat or deal with that shutdown. Like, I fire everything just because I wasn't escaping. That can always happen for any mech, but there are times where if you have the opportunity, and it is case by case, if you have the opportunity where a mech is crippled or you've got an amazing shot or you can take it, you want to alpha. You want to fire everything that's in range. The Crusader, you just can't do that. I mean, at point blank range, if you're 1 hex, 2, 3 hexes away, 3 hexes, because this way the machine guns can be in, you could fire those long range missiles. You've got under the minimum modifiers plus all the other modifiers. But hey, I don't know, this could be the time I roll 11s, 10s, 11s, 12s. But if you're firing 2 long range missiles, 2 short range missiles, 2 lasers, 2 machine guns, you're in a lot of trouble. And if you're not out for the next couple of turns or haven't blown up, you're going to just essentially be sitting there as you cool down. So fire discipline, very, very important for the Crusader. A flawed mech, possibly. I like to think of it as more of a mech to be hyper aware of how it utilizes on the table. But in the right hands, with that right discipline, it has a lot of bite. It has a lot of bite. On a side note, because it has been brought up a couple other times in talking with some Battletech friends with the Crusader, you pretty much have all your gear lined up in the arms. Like, what happens if you get both your arms blown off? Well, yeah, I've played zombie mechs where both my arms have gotten blown off. You still got the short-range missiles to utilize. And if you do get both your arms blown off, there's always just kind of charging and shoving and kicking. I mean, at that point, I find, yes, the Crusader does have literally all its eggs in both arms, but that's not... If both my arms are blown off, there's usually other problems going on. And we need to kind of address the firepower that I'm taking if that's happening on a regular basis. So tactically, there should be other things to support it. I mean, it is a concern, but it's not, that wouldn't prevent me from taking the mech. And I don't really consider that necessarily a design flaw with how it operates. Okay, in the comments, because Crusader, like I said, is iconic. I mean, if you think Battletech, Inner Sphere, just that tech level, you're pulling out these names: Marauder, Warhammer, Battlemaster, Locust, Wasp, Stinger, Irby. Irby's always in there no matter what. That Crusader, I bet you, is somewhere on the top 10 list, falling in at the midpoint, somewhere on there. Tactically, what do you think, and how does it play? How do you play it? And how, for the new players, the new Battletech players, how should it be played?